The people of the Emirates are the makers of its culture, the makers of the impossible. They dream big, act fast, and empower each other. This is what shapes a nation's culture. From all over the Emirates and across the globe, they are working together to make it possible.
I think for leaps and changes, it comes from the imagination, somebody imagining a different state of the world.
If we want to move from an economy that is very dependent on oil to a more knowledge-based economy, innovation is very important.
If you don't innovate, if you do things always the same way, you will get always the same results. Innovation is to change something that works better, or to change one thing that was working for one purpose, to change it to another purpose. The place where I was born is a place where the skies are infinite, the stars are beautiful, and the landfill is beautiful. So that's why I like nature, and I want to preserve that. I was born in a little town in Extremadura, which is southwest of Spain. I am number 7 of 9 children. So that, of course, influences your whole life because that way you have to be a survivor. Otherwise, number 7, no one will ever pay attention to you. And I came in March 2016. And I had this idea that, I am a female and I'm going to an Arabic country, so maybe this is difficult for me. I was completely shocked when I came because it was exactly the opposite.
Or for hydrogen generation, because they can use.
I do research and development in areas related to clean energy and sustainability. I also work on water treatment. I work on new refrigerants. And this area is the area in the world where we produce fuel for energy. So if we clean the fuel, then we will have a better environment while still using the resources that we have.
To me, I always say space was unthinkable. And I remember a moment where that really shows how unthinkable it was to me. I was just about to graduate and I had one free elective, and one of my friends told me, how about astronomy? And I told her, why astronomy? I want to use it in my career. With a mission going to Mars, you need propulsion because rocket puts you on the way to Mars, but it doesn't put you in your Martian orbit. So you need your own propulsion subsystem to control the spacecraft's trajectory.
We call this our miracle in the desert. It is the peak of summer right now, right? It's hitting over 50 outside, and yet here this lush oasis exists, right? With bumblebees flying around. I actually feel it's like Avatar. You see these huge vines and it's unreal, right? And the fact that this is possible in what was before a giant plot of really hot sand in the middle of Abu Dhabi. So I grew up in the desert as well. I'm from a small town in northern Arizona called Jerome. 500 people in the middle of nowhere. Fascinatingly, today, it has turned to agriculture, my little hometown in the middle of nowhere. At the same time, across the world in a new desert, I started my career in finance in New York and bouncing into technology and et cetera. And then now here I am, a farmer in the desert. We use very little water. We grow hydroponically. So we use an automated irrigation system that feeds the plants using kind of digitally. It's a precision ag, so no waste. And any excess water and nutrients get recirculated, disinfected, and put back in the plants. What Pure Harvest Smart Farms does that's quite unique, right, is that we offer with one solution food security, water conservation, economic diversification, and sustainability, sort of hitting all those nails with one hammer. So it's actually quite challenging for our grower because typically in one greenhouse, you might grow 1, maybe 2 crops. They call it monocropping. What we're doing is running over 26, which is actually super challenging, but the reason is this is half R&D, half production, because we're learning which varieties perform, both technically, as in yields and quality and et cetera, but also in the market. What do consumers actually like?
When we talk about sustainability, maybe we think of the environment, but sustainability is the environment, is the society, is economically as well. We need to diversify the economy of the country. We cannot live only with oil and gas. So it's very important to work on different areas of sustainability, which is also related to diversifying the economy of the country. And of course, I personally think that people will also feel better when they realize they are using something that is good for the environment instead of something that is harmful to the environment.
In order to move from a oil-based economy to a more knowledge-based economy, we need to inspire youth to get into science and technology. The HOPE probe, or the Emirates Mars mission, was the perfect project to transform mindsets and to get youth excited about science and technology and space again. On the HOPE probe, we have 3 instruments, and we will be using these instruments to provide the scientific community for the first time with a global and holistic overview of the Martian atmosphere. Scientists believe that billions of years ago, Mars was very similar to Earth. It had water flowing, and all that is lost today. So Mars today has a very thin atmosphere, and water is escaping it. So understanding Mars is very important for us in understanding Earth. So it's about our survival on this planet.
Innovation and sustainability are very much related. Well, all we are talking about is actually that, no? If we don't innovate, someone will do for us. Here, for example, in the Emirates, how can we survive now if we don't have air conditioning? That's impossible. Anywhere in the world, how do you survive if you cannot put your food into the refrigerator? This equipment has a fluid that works inside. Well, these are called the refrigerants. So these are the 3rd generation refrigerants, which are the ones that mostly we have today. Now, what happened is that these new refrigerants are bad with the environment because they have a very high global warming potential. High global warming potential means for how long they stay in the atmosphere, for 100 years, compared to CO2. So we are trying to find molecules that will have the equivalent properties. We mean they will work well in a refrigerator, in a car, in air conditioning, all things related to cooling, but without being harmful with the environment. Essentially, what I mean by sustainability is the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we ate. Right now in the Emirates, we are also opening one area that I thought it was a bit behind, which is anything related to food and food preservation.
Counterintuitively, we believe this is one of the best places in the world to farm food. And the reason why is that the core driver of output in farming is light, is sunlight. So we developed a technology that let us tackle that heat and humidity, and specifically I would say humidity, which is super challenging. And that's let us be able to farm here economically. We see ourselves as an energy company, and we are harnessing sun power to create food or calories as cheaply as possible. We integrate a number of different climate systems, so evaporative and mechanical cooling, fogging systems. And when we do that, we can essentially create a Mediterranean climate year-round, right? And in doing so, that allows us to grow just about anything. We don't use pesticides. We use beneficial insects that are predators that kill the bad insects that get in. And as a result, it's more sustainable in that we're not spraying chemicals to solve pests. The other thing, though, is energy, right? This is a big one. In the end, we're an energy company, as I said, right? But we have so much sun power, and now we're able to integrate with solar energy, sustainable forms of energy. You know, energy is never created or destroyed. It's just moved around, right? We now are harvesting that heat and using that in the winters for cooling. So we don't waste anything, right? And that was an innovation that allowed us to remove the investments we were making in heating systems. Innovation's all around what we're doing, and I think it will enable us to get more and more competitive and ultimately serve more of the market, right? Be a real solution to feed the people of the region fruit and vegetable. Early on, we raised what was the largest ever seed financing in the Middle East, North Africa in 2017. By that time, it was $5.8 million, but literally on a PowerPoint, a promise and a pile of dirt. The farms we're building now are anywhere from 7 to 17 times the size of this one, right? We want to be the most competitive farming system in the world. And I think that we're well on our way, but we got a lot of work left to do.
The mission was announced in 2014, so we only had 6 years to work on the project and to launch by 2020. Usually, missions like these have 10 years to work, but we had to change our way of work so that we can meet the deadline that was set for us. The basics in engineering, of course, helped me a lot, but everything else was very new. Propulsion was also new, not just to me, it was new to the center.
Being a professor is wonderful because you have in your hands people that you can shape. It's also a responsibility, by the way, but I think it's a great responsibility. So having the opportunity to do what you like and to help people to work in this area, which in the end will be the application that I mentioned before, to help the future generations and to have a better world, I think it's a dream. And I have the possibility to do that, so I'm very grateful for that.
On launch day, as I saw the rocket launch, it was a surreal moment, but it was also very, very terrifying. After when we got the first signal and when I saw that all the readings on the subsystem were as expected, and we were firing actually the small thrusters, that was I would say, an indescribable feeling. Very important for us is that this mission provides the scientific community around the world with science about the Martian atmosphere that was never provided before. It's not just about getting to Mars, it's about creating hope and inspiring the Arab youth that if a country of 50 years can get to Mars, then anything is possible.